and welcome to your Merry Christmas. I wanted to record this video, this message, and share a little bit about Christmas, about what I feel Christmas to be, talking a little bit about the Christ consciousness, talking a little bit the Christos energy, the crystal energy, as I've been experiencing it in this Christmas. I've been in a pretty deep experience within myself prior to Christmas, and it has been more aggravated, more intense in the days coming up to Christmas. And there was this sensation of deep sadness and deep aloneness. As the human, I was just feeling it very, very visceral. And what do you do when you have this kind of sensations, or any kind of sensations, every sensation where you are not at joy? You do self-inquiry. You get real quiet with yourself. You get real honest. You get real sincere with yourself, and you start asking the questions. Why am I feeling this? What is this all about, right? Because initially I was thinking like, well, maybe it's about because I am not in my home country and I'm missing the Christmas traditions, right? Or maybe it's about that I'm not being with my family. What is it? What is it that it makes me feel so sad and so alone? And doing the self-inquiry, I realized it was not about that. It was not about the human. But the human, right, was feeling it very, very deep and very, very intense. And this is the sensation, again, I'm speaking from personal experience. This is the sensation, this sadness, this aloneness, this idea of why am I doing this? Why am I here? It's really the identity integrating. It's really the ego integrating, the ego transitioning into the we go. It's a little bit hard to talk about it because it's very pure, it's very sacred, it's very deep, it's very intense. I wouldn't normally want to talk about it, but somehow I felt this divine will inside of me that wants to share about it. So really, it's not about, the ego is not about the identity, right? Initially we think it's about the human trying to find worthiness and trying to trust himself, herself, through having a motivation, a purpose as a human, right? And then that doesn't fulfill you, that doesn't work out. Or maybe you literally reach the goal, whatever the human goal would be, to be someone, right? Trying to find your worth, trying to find your value by achieving a higher purpose, being a doctor, being a musician, being, whatever the story is. And then you either fail at it completely and you have this identity crisis of, okay, who am I if I'm not this? Or you reach that high purpose and then you're like, okay, now what? Now who am I after I've reached this? Because then you still don't feel you are, deeply happy. And then there's those of us that are pursuing this spiritual path, and you are basically, shedding the human belief systems and gaining some new spiritual belief systems. You may be part of a spiritual community, and You start calling yourself a master and doing all these things. And these are like super important, but they're like just steps, right? You don't know who you are. You are making steps towards really knowing who you are, knowing yourself as God. So when you let go even of that, right? Or when you're starting to let go of that, you still have the ego, right? There's like this spiritual ego, this role. You're building a role for yourself. I am a spiritual person. I am a master, or I'm a spiritual teacher. And then you either reach the end goal or you fail completely, and there's like another identity crisis, like, okay, but who am I? Really, truly. And again, for me, and as I've seen for others as well, is that you cannot find this, feel this knowingness, knowing thyself, if you are still part of a community. This is where ungrouping is vital, right? If you really have a deep passion of knowing yourself, knowing God, knowing truth, then you're always going to go further. You're never going to remain in one place. You're never going to stop at one point. I'm living in Ubud right now. I changed the beach scenery with this jungly scenery, and you know, Ubud is ultra spiritual and all of these spiritual practices. It's kind of funny. And you know, there is value in all of these things, this initial phases of awakening. There is value because they're just holding the door open for those in their, you know, initial phases of awakening. But true awakening from the dream that you are just a human, and not just momentarily, but when it lasts, right? That shatters your entire world. This true awakening, this moment where you meet God, when this happens, there is sadness and there is loneliness, because that's when the identity is integrating, right? Whatever identity, role, persona you've been building up to then, you realize it's defined, it's a definition, right? Who you are is not defined. So when you reach that point, there is this sadness and aloneness that comes with the integration. It's the moment where you reach in the void, right? In the darkness. That moment where you actually meet yourself, you meet your true self. And it's actually not even this identity that is having this realization. It's when this identity really integrates that there is realization, there is this enlightenment. And it is such a deep and sacred sensation and moment, and it's filled with, you know, humility, and you can't even talk about it. And this is where the aloneness comes, because what you feel, you cannot really share with other people, because they will not understand it. Some of them will, that have been going through this, and others are just gonna say, well, you are depressed, you need to go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. But when you know what this is all about, you just allow, you just give in, you just accept. And then this aloneness and sadness, which is basically the identity still trying to hold on to this center, the center of identity, right? As you stay there and you accept this, that is when it kind of like goes away. It's a period of, like, how do you call this? You're like kind of wobbly, because you realize there's no purpose. You don't have a purpose, you don't have a human motivation or human passion. That lasts a while, and then there is the passion, the will of God that is able to express through you, and it's going to express through this thing only when the ego lets go, right? Only when the identity is really integrating back into oneness. And about Christmas, the Christ consciousness, the crystal consciousness, clear crystal consciousness, this is what it's all about, right? This is what Jesus was also saying through his act and showing us, right? That you die, the identity dies, the body dies, and then you still exist, and then you realize you are not that. It's super hard for the identity to realize it's not that. It's the center, right? You're having a center of this is who I am a master, I am this, I am a Shaumbra, I am blah blah. And when you realize you're not that, it's very scary to wake up to unity, to wake up to truth. It's super scary, super uncomfortable. Nothing does make sense. Nothing ever made sense. You just created some belief systems and some goals and a purpose, so you think it makes sense, but you realize nothing makes sense. It really does not matter. It's super hard to live a life where you don't have a purpose like that. So what I've been feeling with this Christmas coming, it's really about the Christ consciousness waking up, realizing who it is, what it is. And it's when the let go, the ego, the identity lets go of the purpose of the center and lets God manifest, express, experience through this vessel now, which is a vessel for the will of God. So it's a very beautiful experience to feel that. There's so much happening, and I'm trying to put it into words, and it's hard to put truth into words, but I can just try to emanate it. Again, I wouldn't really not like to do this right now or record this video, but I felt I have to. And this is what I have been doing in this last 2 months in the Unveiling Worthiness, Be Your Own Guru program. I didn't really know what was going to happen, right? I was having my own experiences with worthiness, and I wanted to teach about it. And it was so beautiful to see how we really arrived after these 2 months, weekly calls, 4 hours or more, calls of conversations and exploring and weeding the landscape and realizing it's not about, like, the human can never be worthy. The human is always going to try to find its worth in the outside, in a job, in a title, in something. It's always going to try and find its value in a relationship, in family, in community, and all that. But that is not the true worthiness, right? That is not the true value. That is not where the true trust comes from, because when you let go of this identity and there's this realization, there is enlightenment, there is realization, then you realize trust is inherent and worthiness is inherent. It's who you are. And to do that, how do you get there? Well, this is what we've been doing in this program. I was, holding the hands and holding the space of this 4 beautiful beings that wanted to truly, deeply unveil the worthiness and be your own guru. Is about realizing who you are. It's not about any other dogma. It's not about taking the teachings from somebody else and then teaching them yourself, or talking about it. It's about realizing I am, oh my God, I am that. How do you do that? Well, it's the whole let go and let God thing. It's this ego transforming into the we go. We go. It's the human and divine together. You don't lose the identity in that way, but it transforms. It becomes from a fixed identity, I am this and this and this and this, right? It transforms into knowing who you are, and you don't need to reinforce that identity. You don't need something from the outside to prove to yourself that you are valuable, that you are worthy, that you trust yourself. And what came to me was the Holy Father prayer, the Lord's Prayer, which I realized it's really about the let go and let God. It's really about the humbleness of the human, of the identity, realizing it has no control, and it's not about the identity, right? The identity doesn't know anything. So when it says, Our Father who art in heaven, or here, right? Our Father, how I feel it's the consciousness, it's God. Dear God, that you are here. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. This is the whole I let go and let God, right? Thy kingdom come, the kingdom, consciousness, God, truth, comes, and your will, your divine will shall be done. It's not about my human will, my human free will. It's about the will of the God on earth as it is in heaven. Again, the act of surrender, the act of letting go, the act of accepting the divinity. As the human does this and lets go and lets God, right? All your needs are met, because give us this day our daily bread. So God, consciousness, right, is giving you everything you need as soon as you wake up and you allow God. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Forgive us our trespasses. It's receiving the forgiveness of the I am, receiving the forgiveness, the love of God. And lead us not into temptation. Lead us not back into duality, right? Lead us not back into temptation, into duality, into this illusory world, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. This is basically the acknowledgement that I was talking about in my latest article on Patreon, where you acknowledge God, right? You acknowledge what God is, who God is. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. It has always been, it always will be. The kingdom, right, is within. You don't have to search for your worthiness, for your trust outside. It's within, as soon as the identity just lets go and lets God. And this is when the Christ consciousness, right, it wakes up within you. Hence this whole video about Christmas. And merry be the Christmas, merry be the moment that the Christ consciousness wakes up within this beautiful dualistic world playground, right? And this beautiful act of placing your hands together, I feel it's like human and divine just coming together. It's again about surrender. It's about letting go. It's about just pure surrender. So this is what we've been doing in this amazing 2-month program, and I want to share a little bit more about what's been happening there. So I'm going to read the newsletter that I sent, where I put a lot of stuff. I will be holding this program again in the end of January 2025 for whoever is interested. So when I first started the program, I didn't know how far we're going to go, because it depended on each individual present, on their motivation, their readiness, their willingness to see, to feel, and to do it no matter what. I didn't know how fast or slow it would unfold. And every time I was blown away and surprised by what the calls did, how everyone showed up, and their honesty and their humility, right? The human's willingness to surrender to God. And in the last 2 sessions, we really focused on the surrender part. We arrived talking about the ego-wigo dynamics and characteristics, which I made a whole document about, and you can download it on my Patreon. I will leave a link in this video. We were just creating ways for the human to surrender to truth, ways for entering and staying and exploring the void, the unknown, the darkness, the nothingness, creation. And this void, this unknown, this darkness, right? It's coming, right, over and over again. It's coming during. It's not just one time that this comes. It just comes, and then it gives a break for the nervous system to adapt to it. And then after some linear time, when you're ready, there's a little bit more, and then there's a little bit more, and then step by step, this is how the linear time of the ego surrendering and transforming into the wigo, going from a fixed identity to no identity, the void, to new identity, new life, the wigo, right? How you're going to go back into the world and this time have an actual new life, because you're not trying to reinforce your value from the outside, because you know who you are, right? In this void, in this darkness, you realize who you are, and then who you are is going to have fun on earth through this vessel, through this body-mind, for the will of God. Arriving to the recognition that worthiness isn't about a person and identity, it's not about any human trait, but in knowing on an experiential level that you are that. I am that I am. I am that. Going through what it takes and feels like to ungroup, so that you finally clearly listen to yourself. Practicing honesty every day, so you can express and speak from your heart, your core, your center, which is not the human identity anymore, right? Your home. Contemplating, passive, and playing, active, with concepts, so they become actual experience. I am, providing these contemplations and ways to allow this during the program. Accepting that as a human, you don't know anything. Knowingness only comes as you surrender to that. So we discussed the ways to support this surrender, the ways to maintain, to focus on the motivation, and ways to connect and remind you of it. And in the end, the motivation is always, perhaps expressed in different ways, the motivation is always to know God. And the idea of this program is, this program is very special and dear to me, and it is something that just keeps on giving. We built an entire database of materials, which you will have access to for all your life, right? Different videos that we create together. So we establish the motivation and we pursue it. We understand the me bodies, the mental and the emotional bodies that support the me identity. We contemplate them, we learn how not to be ruled by them, learn to play with them, create space for their integration. I recorded already 2 sessions where I talk about what energy is and what consciousness is, and what the mental body is, what the emotional body is. And understanding this allows you to allow their integration of the mental and the emotional body, which are the biggest hindrance to knowing who you are, right? Being stuck in the mental and the emotional body. We've been talking about ungrouping dynamics and holding the space as that takes place, on ongoing support of going from identity to no identity in the void, the nothingness, the creation, darkness, and unity, truth. Unity and separation are not separate. They don't exclude each other. The way that I support arriving and staying in the void, the place of no identity, is by coming at it from both sides. So if you have the no identity in the center, and on the left side is coming from the human side, what the human can do, and on the right side, God, how you can express yourself as God so that you arrive in this place of no identity. Right? What the human can do to surrender, and as God, how to play as God, and tools to operate as God. You learn how to speak from the space of heart, keyword, vulnerability. We have the pillars. We have a very beautiful meditation, guided meditation with imagination and all that, where we arrive in the temple of worthiness and we see the pillars to allow the unveiling of worthiness. Motivation and readiness, honesty and vulnerability, darkness, how to embrace your darkness, which is you also have access to a 10-day program, Embrace Your Darkness, that I recorded a while ago. So there is also that available in the program. We discuss generally and personally, super important, personally, because this is a very personal class. I address what is specific for you in the moment, right? Personally for you, what are the dynamics and characteristics of the ego transitioning to the wigo? Worthiness doesn't come from the human experience. Again, worthiness, a true worthiness, is knowing who you are through recognizing yourself, acknowledging yourself, seeing yourself, and showing yourself. We had contemplations and self-inquiries to support navigating all this. Everybody was excellent in the class. We even had a few of them that gave us like master classes. For example, Amira became a mad scientist and gave master classes on quantum physics, how light and dark work, what creation is, what darkness is. She's been exploring a lot the ugliness of darkness and the beauty of it. Yael gave a master class on being the background of all creation. This program is a lot about facing your lies, again, through the pillars of honesty, vulnerability, and trust. It's about feeling everything, stop hiding, see all, acknowledge and recognize the true self. The guru, it's you. When you let go of the old identity, it's not outside anymore, ungrouping. Whoever inspires you outside is just that, an inspiration, in hope that this will ignite the passion within to know truth, God. You show up ready to unveil. This is the engine that opens up and shows you where your worthiness is veiled. I hold a space and I hold your hand. I teach about self-inquiry, what it is, how to do it, and contemplations. I offer the tools to integrate the mental and the emotional body, me, that support the me identity. I reassure you it's safe to surrender. This is a huge thing, feeling not safe anymore. It's super huge because as the ego lets go, surrenders, it let go of all the belief systems that created the idea of safety. You let go of the identity, which is the core. And this center of this identity is what makes you feel safe. This is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. So safety is a huge thing. I offer ways to navigate the sadness and loneliness that come from surrendering to God. You have weekly support and accountability, so you don't get lazy or lost, so you can't hide anymore from what comes up and put it up for later. You do it now, right? Because this is like it's not a fast-paced program in the way of information, but it's fast in the way that you don't have time to not do it, right? You have a week call on Thursday, you have your contemplations and your inquiry and your contemplations and your homework, your explorations for the next week, and then the next week you show up and you share what's been showing up for you. The meetings are a safe space to express, speak, and hear yourself, and realize you do know and you are grand, glorious, and worthy. Not the identity imagined you, but the real you. You get personalized feedback and homework after each session. You have email support from me during the class. There's the beauty of connecting with others. It makes this transition feel more safe. You have lifetime access to an entire database of materials that we create together, and the personalized materials just for those in the call. At one point, we even played with some nice oracle cards, which were surprisingly accurate for everyone, and I recorded special videos just for the people in the program. After each call, which lasted 4 hours or sometimes even 4 hours and 20 minutes, after each call and conversation, there's going to be a 30-40 minute integration meditation contemplation to ground everything and condense that you can re-listen to whenever you want, as I also offer it as an individual file. Each call is recorded on Zoom. We also have the AI resume, which is super nice. We have the transcript, the summary, the next steps, and the chapter description and timestamps. I create PDFs of the weekly homework and contemplations, super organized with everything. I offer a playlist also with voice lessons, because this class is about speaking, getting used to speaking your truth, to speaking, to using your voice. So I offer some voice lessons, a playlist with voice lessons, and also kirtan soundtracks to practice your voice. Kirtan is something I've been doing here in Bali, which is just some mantras that are helping you to use your voice, and all these mantras are about acknowledging God and honoring God. We have a separate meditation tracks plus the music track for each week. It is something that you can redo, re-listen, re-watch after you finish in the months that come. Like I said, you have access to the Embrace Your Darkness 10-day program, which only in itself is valued at 555 euros. I will also give a discounted price for 4 months for the one-on-one sessions. We're also going to have 2 months follow-up Zoom call, and I am updating the database from all the future and previous programs, whatever general materials that I can share. Now, why do I do all this? It's been super hard, guys. It's been super hard to hold this space. I needed a lot of time alone to rebalance during these 8 weeks and then the weeks after as well. It's super hard to take on because it's so personal. I take on so much from everyone. But, you know, what can be more beautiful than recognizing who you are? What can be more meaningful than this? For me, being a teacher for all this, it's what brings me great joy. And, you know, not a teacher that gets lost in the ego dynamics, which is my deepest wish, passion, and fear. This fear of the ego to eventually grasp on all the beauty and sacredness is what has made me keeping a low profile during these last 4 years. Since I've been sharing myself online, it's, I think in November or December, the YouTube told me that it's been 4 years since I have the YouTube channel. So happy anniversary to me. And now I'm starting to be more out here, as I have learned over and over and over again that there is no doing this without humbleness. The humbleness of surrendering over and over to God. I don't know everything, of course, and with each session I deepen my own relationship to God. And it is with great joy that I hang around to share everything that I do and help a few others in the process. Not an easy job. I could have easily stick to being a doctor, being a dentist, but since my passion all my life has been to actually, help people, assist humanity, I couldn't stay in that job. So this is why I quit everything and got more serious about this, my actual passion, in 2020. So the program is going to start in January 30th until February 20th. It's going to be 8 weeks. Every week we're going to meet. We're going to have a call, everything that I've said before. The energy exchange for this 8-week program is 1,111 euros. If you sign up before the end of the year, there's a discount. It's 999 euros. If you are interested in this program, you can send me a message to register. I would love to do this with you. If you are ready, it is a passion for me to do this, even though it's extremely hard on the body and mind. But I am here. I am here to do all of this. Trying to feel if there is anything else that wants to be expressed. But I think it's enough for now. I will add some testimonials after this. And you can find more information in the description of this video. And Merry Christmas. May the light of the Christ consciousness wake up within you, and may you realize that all is well. It doesn't matter. Your value and worthiness is not on the outside. The kingdom is within. So with that, thank you guys for being here. And do send a note. There are many views on these videos that I post on YouTube, and in the last 4 years that I've been doing this, I really don't get a lot of feedback other than the people that I also work with. But I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. Send me a note. It's important, because many times, this being so hard to do, many times whenever I receive a note from you, I'm not even talking about donations. It's just at least a note, a comment, to know that you're there. It helps to have some feedback from you guys, so I can keep on doing this, especially when it gets hard. It's super hard to run your own business. I do everything for myself. I record I edit my videos, I do the marketing and the social media, which I do not like. I don't have an entire team behind. It's just me, and it's pretty hard to go from that state of, you know, when I channel and when I speak truth, to go from that, which is so beautiful and sacred and light, right? I have to go from that to doing the human stuff and using my brain, moving through this dense world, and edit, post it, write about it, write a description. It's super hard for now, and I think even later. It's still hard to go from this. I remember I was having sort of an enlightenment flu after, I think it was 4 months or 2 months, I don't remember, of being in Bali. So I had to go for a visa run, and then I came back and I got sick. For 3 weeks I couldn't leave my bed. I was so much in this light body experience, connected with the Christ consciousness. It was also Easter time. I had no desire to move, to eat, to speak, to anything. I was just laying in bed and feeling the light. And then when I had to get up and use the toilet or eat, I could feel at the same time the light of who I am and the density of this world. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I was hungry. It was like my body was like, what is happening? I didn't want to come back here. It was so good to just feel the light body and feel myself as God, and literally nothing makes sense, you know, out of this human world. And I had my mom call me like, you gotta eat. I was super hungry, but then when I ate, it was like I'm eating nothing. And I was smoking a lot during that time. I didn't even feel the cigarette. I didn't feel the smoke, the anything. I found out that that was a way for me to remain grounded here, to still be on earth. I had to do something to see I'm still here on earth. It would just touch myself and not feel anything, or actually feel how this is just such a beautiful hologram, such a beautiful illusion. So yes, you guys, I think this is it. Merry Christmas once again from the wonderful Bali, from this jungle place, Ubud, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.